Welcome to episode 13 of WitchCraft, where Cherry forgot to choose her output device for recording. So my microphone was not recording this entire time that I was filming. I blamed my cat because my cat was messing with my wires, and apparently my mic unplugged, so it detached from my OBS. So yeah. So I'm gonna do my best to voice over this episode. I'm sorry if it's kind of bad. I just don't want to scrap it and then explain all of the stuff that I did and then go do something else, because this was a good episode and I liked this one. So yeah, I'm gonna try to save it. I'm gonna bump up the editing and stuff so you guys are still entertained, but I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Alrighty, first thing was to gather up our shroomling friend and bring him down to where the anvil is so I could name him. And the name that I chose from the comments is Fun Guy, because he's a fun guy. I really like the name. Punny names will always get chosen by me, just telling you that. So yeah, we named him Fun Guy. And in this episode, we are going to be using Fun Guy for his sneezing ability because it turns cows into mushrooms, as I mentioned last episode. So we're going to be using him for that today. Next, I decided to stop by the farm to show you guys the little roofs that I made for the animal pens for whenever it starts snowing again, and as we're getting ready for winter, I didn't want them to get snowed on, so I made little roofs for all of the pens. I think they're very cute, they're very simple. They work. And next we went to the cow pen to grab 2 cows for this mushroom experiment. I brought Fallon along with us so she could just be outside and fly around. But yeah, I got 2 cows. I kind of struggled getting them out and ended up getting a different cow than what I was originally leading. But that's fine. We still got 2 cows nonetheless, so it worked. And before we went to the mushroom area, I showed you guys the fairy pen. I replaced the normal glass that was kind of ugly with this gobber glass since we had way too much gobber to begin with. So yeah, it just looks nice and glowy and fantasy-like now. And then we headed on over to the mushroom area that I made, which is just a simple little mushroom area with loose fences. So yeah, I brought the cows over there and tied them up. So yeah, I put our little fun guy down and let him do his thing. As you can see, whenever he sneezes, he turns one of the cows into a mushroom. And after a few tries of this, he managed to get the second one turned into a mushroom. And after that, they kind of tried to escape. So yeah, I had to catch them and put them back on their leads and release them and put them on a fence. Now, I know what you're thinking. Once I release said mushrooms, they will just walk around aimlessly and eventually get lost. But I have a plan for this. There's a little thing in Nature's Aura that keeps mobs and like farm animals and stuff nearby whenever you place it somewhere, so we're gonna be using that. But first, I decided to put Fun Guy back in his little area. I put his scroll down and let him chill out, and I also put Fallon outside this time since she's always cooped up in her room. I put her near the Fey altar, and after that I just headed straight to our witch's tower to start constructing this object. I did try to get the little bit of snow that was on the roof off though, but I ended up breaking some of the roof along with it, so I fixed it though. And after an embarrassingly long amount of time looking for said object that I forgot the name of, I finally found it. It's called the Corporeal Eye. So I began looking for the ingredients, and it just needs 2 wheat seeds, something called an environmental eye, and infused stone. So I went home and went to our chest room, grabbed stone, melted said stone, and just sat there and waited for a little bit for everything to smelt.
2,000 years later.
And after that was done, I quickly gathered all of the other ingredients that I needed, including the ingredients for the environmental eye, and then we set off again. Upon returning to the witch tower, I went down to the altar and started turning the regular stone into the infused stone. Realized that you can only do one at a time, and slowly started to individually make all of these regular stone into magical stone. So, and then after that, I made sure I had all the ingredients and went to bed first before going to the nature ritual, set down all of the things, put down the tree, and realized that I forgot bone meal. So I went back to the chest room, grabbed bone meal, and came back and finally grew the tree and started the nature ritual to make the environmental eye. After that was done, I grabbed the eye, got the cool achievement, and went back upstairs to craft this corporeal eye. After crafting, I finally got the little entry thing that has the corporeal eye information, and it reads, sometimes as a farmer, one wants their animals to be contained in a small area as a way to prevent them from running away. The corporeal eye prevents any animals from exiting its area of effect without needing any blocks around it. Its range for this containment is determined by the redstone signal applied to it. The stronger it is, the bigger the area. So after reading that, I went back over to the mushroom area and I picked out a spot to put our corporeal eye. I decided to put it under the little mushroom thing to keep it relatively hidden. I realized that the area might be too small if I don't put any redstone signaling under it, so I teleported back to our chest room and I just grabbed a redstone block, some redstone. I also made a redstone torch as well to just make sure we had enough to give them plenty of room to walk around in. And then I came back, I dug under the corporeal eye and placed the redstone block along with all of the redstone dust and placed a torch as well for good measure, just to make sure the redstone signal was strong enough to have enough room for them to walk around, because I didn't want it to be too small, but I also didn't want them to go way out of bounds of the mushroom area. So yeah, I did that and then covered it all up. After doing that, I decided to lead them so we could test it out, and as you can see right there, instead of having like a bunch of fence around, I just have this little magical aura. And then I went over and grabbed a hay bale because I wanted one more mushroom, and then I bred the two parents and made a mushroom baby. And that marks the end of my mushroom experiment venture. Next up, I was going to try to make some fairy wings because I was already tired of the bat wings. So as you can see, I'm looking up. I actually tried to decide between the angel wings and the fairy wings, but ultimately I chose the fairy ones. And I was about to craft them, but then I quickly realized that slow falling potions require phantom membranes, and I would rather not fight the sky demons right now. So it was time to move on to our next thing. And for the next project I wanted to work on, I decided that I wanted to make a little dwarven home because I wanted to summon a dwarven tinkerer. And I figured instead of just having him like at the side of the house, I would make him a little home, kind of reminiscent to the one that's, you know, the general structure that spawns, but I wanted to spruce it up and make it all pretty. And of course, I will be using dolomite to match the palette of our house, but also because we have way too much dolomite and we need to use it. So I figured this was a good structure to use it on. So after deciding where to put our dwarven friend's home, I started clearing out a little space for him, and then eventually built the structure, as you will see in a moment. In this part, I remember explaining that I was really happy with this build because this was one of the few builds that I only used concept art on, because usually I take like different pictures from Pinterest and like kind of sort of do it myself and kind of not, but I basically completely did this myself and I was really happy with it. So yeah, this is me showing you around. I pointed out the coal because we had the silk touch pickaxe that I have put to good use, and I put his little dwarven hammer down, and this is just me, you know, showing the exterior and eventually going inside to the interior. The interior isn't much, it's just, you know, a little simple, cozy home for our dwarven friend. I don't actually know if he's gonna even use the house. I think he just kind of like stays near the anvil or something. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little mini tour of the dwarven house. Now it's time to actually go and get the dwarven scroll. So basically what I'm explaining here is that I just have to non-stop trade with the dwarf to eventually get the dwarven scroll offered to me, which is what you see in this little clip here. I'm probably gonna speed it up, but yeah, I just had to continuously trade different items that he wanted, much like a normal villager, you know, wait for the buff to go off on him, meaning that he has a new item that he's gonna sell soon, and then just keep doing it until eventually I got the scroll. And basically what the scroll does, it's like the shroomling scroll or the face scroll. Whenever we crouch and right click on an anvil, it'll just give us our own dwarf friend. So yeah. And lastly, before I went back home, I went and grabbed the waystone that was in front of the library that was next to the blacksmith because I ran out of waystones. And then afterwards, I decided that I was gonna name the dwarf myself. Sorry. I just had a really good name for him, and the name was Sindri, which is a character from God of War, because I have been really into watching Jacksepticeye play God of War recently, and Sindri has been my favorite character, by far. And Sindri is one of the dwarf characters, so it kind of just fit. So yeah, and then as you can see, I moved Fun Guy to the mainland because he kept getting stuck in the water. Also, I still haven't figured out his texture. I don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, he's just forever gonna be black and blue, I guess. But if you do have any fixes for this, or if you've messed with Feywild and know, please let me know, because I would kind of like to fix that bug. But yeah. And then right here, you can see I just crouched and placed our new dwarven friend Sindri, and I'm showing off all the trades. I'm assuming that the more you trade with him, the better his trades are. As for right now, they're actually pretty good for how they are, because they were just kind of like food for mining stuff, which is fine. Right here I was really excited because we finally have an official neighbor, because you can't really, you know, make the villagers neighbors because they're too far away. So we have our little dwarf friend, and afterwards I said you're welcome for the free house and decided to go off on my own adventures. Alright, and that is basically it for this episode. I'm really sorry about the mic situation. I hope I voiced it over pretty well. I think I did okay. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment your favorite part, and subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!